Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Perfect Balance Trad class, a place where conscious and like minded individuals are guided towards the realization of their true potential through collective reasoning. We have with us today Bingi,
Is that for life?
Yaga, aka Teacher Maat, Okavango, Brother Dulani,
Yes, sir.
and
Yeah.
yours truly, Ras Dada, and we are the Perfect Balance Trad class. Um, what going with the item, everything?
Yeah, man, give
Yes,
thanks.
everything is everything, you know.
Yeah, man,
Yeah.
great, great, great energy, great energy. We had a scintillating reasoning recently regarding the UN resolution classifying the transatlantic slave trade as the gravest human atrocity in history, which we thought was a uh small but significant step in the right direction. Um, we saw
It is symbolic.
it yeah we saw a viewer of the chat class leaving a message on the under the video. So we just wanted to take a few minutes to really just clarify that before we go into the real reasoning in this Iowa, right? So we see them saying that they made a comment to the I don't have it in front of me now to read it verbatim. So I'm gonna just
Dada,
paraphrase, right?
Dada.
Yeah.
It's not even only that comment, because sometimes when I check the comment, seeing, I wonder if the ones them really watch the video before them comment, because some of the same things that they are commenting about, we would have addressed them in the reasoning. So to why it not even make any sense some of these comments that they are making in opposition of the reasoning, because if they really wanted a debate, they could have looked at the point that we've made and addressed those points and put their points forward. But you're asking a question or making a statement about something that we've addressed in the reasoning. So, just watch the video and try to get the understanding, the overstanding, and the understanding of the reasoning. And if it miss you, yeah, then we can have a discussion, because probably they are seeing it from a place where they are. And we can't blame them, and probably sometimes they don't get the full overs of the reasoning either. So I don't know.
So the comment was saying to the extent of Africans sold Africans, Europeans bought Africans. Therefore, it's only the Africans who are in the in America. And when they say America, I think they mean the Americas,
The
Africa.
Americas,
Yeah. So
South America as well,
all the places where Africans were brought
West.
and ended up, right? Not
Yeah,
only the USA,
So,
in the
right?
so that
West,
would
in
have
the
been the
West.
Americans.
Yeah,
The
the
Americas,
Americas.
right? Good.
Yeah,
So um so only those who made it to the West
Are
are
they,
entitled.
Dada, are they talking about the Americas or America? The statement.
Americas.
That's what I'm saying. I'm suggesting that they are actually referring to the Americas, meaning North, South, Central America, all of these places where Africans were brought, the final destination to this journey, this sojourn, right? The final destinations was the entire West, right?
Yes,
So
to the
I'm giving
West.
them the
Yeah.
benefit of the doubt to say they're referring to all these people who ended up in this area. These are the people that they're saying deserve reparations. So what I wanted to say was that ultimately, I believe that there is a miscalculation in this reasoning. And the miscalculation is that reparations is not only financial. And I believe that where this person is actually coming from is to say that only those people are entitled to financial or monetary reparations, right? Even though that is still a flawed belief. But what I'm saying is reparations is much greater. The money part of the reparations is the smallest part of the reparations. That is the part where if we get if the other parts of the reparation movement are met, we don't even need the money because we're going to be in a position where we can establish ourselves where we don't even need them money,
Mhm.
right? So that is the first thing we want to realize. And the second thing we have to understand is that there are people on the continent, right, who were victims of this as well. So that reasoning completely excludes those victims of this atrocity by saying only the people who endured the journey are entitled to reparations. So
And
that is the
Ras,
flaw.
also colonialism continued on the continent itself,
Yes, I.
even after this transatlantic slave trade had ended.
True.
So this is not a America's issue. It is an African issue throughout the globe.
That's
Wherever
right,
you
right.
are and you're African, you're deserving of this reparation that we speak about. And,
That's right.
and, and money, as the I say, is the least of it.
Yes, Bingy, I want to full dose that to the fullest. Um, the Pan African movement as a whole, most Pan Africanists, we advocate that reparation is for all African people. And we're talking about reparation for the Mangamizi, which is the
Mm-hmm.
continuum of chattel, colonial, and neo-colonial enslavement of African people. So
Right.
we don't separate colonialism from enslavement.
Mhm.
And even we even include neo-colonialism because extraction is still taking place. So we want to
Thank
be
you.
compensated for the lost labor, for the stolen labor, the harm to the lives of our people, and for the extraction of the wealth from our lands, and for the
Mm-hmm.
destruction of to our environment. So we have a broader lens when it comes to reparative justice.
Yes, I.
But we know we have to also work within international confinement and also regional and local confinement of the definition of reparation. But we have a high altitude, wide lens when it comes to reparative justice. So we have a broader lens.
Yes,
So I just
I.
wanted to clarify
Clarify
that.
that. Yeah, man. Give
Yeah.
thanks to the clarity, man. Give
Mhm.
thanks to the clarity. Okabonga, what do I say about it?
You know, say y'all give this person. Now you hear me?
Yes, I.
Yeah.
When I give this person the benefit of the doubt, no, I am not so lenient. I think they are talking USA. When I read it on the statement, they are talking USA, and that kind of show the selfishness of the of the commenter. You know what I mean? Because even if Africans, you know what I mean, sold the Africans still suffer. You know what I mean? They still suffer from everything that happened in slavery. Just
Mm-hmm.
all Africans suffer the same way. So everyone that suffer because of that atrocity should get reparations. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean? Yes.
Yes, I.
I think sometime we have to decide whether we are going to just counter that narrative, dismantle it, debunk it, because it's been pushed by white supremacists, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's been pushed by the so-called FBA, the cult of Tariq Nasheed, that is pushing this weaponized miseducation. So we may have to put a section together.
I can debunk it right now, because that's the purpose why we raise it, So if they want to speak on it, man.
Because we have important things,
Mm-hmm.
to deal with in terms of the overall reparative
Yeah.
measures that we
Yeah,
want to
man. So
discuss.
speak
But
on
if,
it,
but
man,
if you
because we
want
can
to
bring
just
in the columns after, man. But speak on it,
okay,
man. Speak
all
on
right.
it.
Well, most of this narrative, this counter narrative that we are hearing coming, because I went across social media after this declaration, and I just briefly looked to a few of the commentaries, and they're actually black people in America that actually agree with the no vote.
Mm.
And there tend to be those who are pushing that same narrative. And I was kind of like, I don't understand this. The CM government in America who has denied the Africans them in America just the ability to study reparation. HR 40 has been on the agenda for the last 37 years. And all of those governments has denied and refused to bring it to the front and to pass it and put it into law, just to study the impact of enslavement and whether reparation is the answer. Not
Yes,
not
right.
the bill doesn't call for reparation, you know. It does
Mm.
call for us to study the impact of enslavement and should there be reparation. And they have
Right.
refused. And that same government has voted no um against the declaration of
Mm.
the trafficking of enslaved African as a crime against humanity, the gravest crime against humanity. So you see a consistency between the US government domestically and the US government internationally.
Mm.
Now, one of the reasons these same FBA or these cult, hate Afrophobic group in America gave why they are opposing to African people, any African outside of America, whether from the Caribbean or the Afrobean, Central or South America, or from the continent, is because they're saying we want to steal their reparation. We want to cut in on the reparation. They're very selfish and very small-minded and very narrow and shallow in their thinking. It's one of the most embarrassing type of rhetoric that I've heard in our black community in a very long time. It's very unfortunate and it's very disheartening to hear young people and people are repeating this white supremacist rhetoric. And anyhow, they're talking about reparation and they have no plans, no mechanism to achieve it, no political agenda, no lobbying, nothing whatsoever. They don't think reparation will come magically out of the sky. And the government in America has denied them reparation, and that government is denying international community, the international African community, this opportunity to declare enslavement a crime against humanity because they don't want to be a part of the compensation part. No.
Right.
Remember the rhetoric of these people, and we are talking about debunking because we want to just put it on the record so they can hear this. They claim that they're not from Africa. And some of them go as far as only a tiny amount of us came from Africa. Therefore, this declaration should not affect them. We're talking about more than 95% of those who taken from Africa doing the whole trafficking of enslaved African. 95% was outside of America. According to them, and only a tiny amount went into America. So what they're saying is that this particular declaration shouldn't affect them, but yet still they are opposed to it. Imagine that. They want to be this spokesperson for African people in the diaspora. And they feel that reparation should only be given to Africans in America. That means that we in the Afrobean don't deserve and should not get reparation. The people in Brazil and Central and South America should not get reparation according to the narrowness and the insidiousness of their thinking. You know what I'm saying? But what we can do is any argument they bring up, we can refute it with facts. And we're saying that reparation is due to Africans in America. We embrace, and we want to send this message out. We embrace our African brothers and sisters in America. We know that the so-called FBA does not speak for the majority of African Americans. They don't represent the accuracy and the proper education of African American and African American history. They are a distortion and a cult that is pushed primarily by one man called Tariq Nasheed, who have been using his platform to misinform, miseducate, our people. So we are in full solidarity with African Americans and African American people. We support you and we want you to have full reparation is due to all Africans in America. We want that to be known. Those who have been enslaved, those who have been the victim of Jim Crow, those who have been the victim of discrimination, sharecropping, mass incarceration, the whole 9 yards. We are fully in support of African American being repaired for the damage done to them. So let's put that on the table up front. So I want to land there and let somebody else take it from there.
Yes, sir. You know, sir, the next thing I want to really address out of the reason is this ideology of Africans selling Africans into slavery. It's unfortunate that a lot of times when people speak of situations, they choose to speak of the exceptions as if they are the rule and ignore the rules. First of all, we have to understand that whatever role Africans played in the illegal selling of African people was a minimal amount, right? It was first of all, so they are the exceptions to what we're speaking of, right? The majority of this trade was performed via the Arabs and the Europeans, right? That's where the majority of it was taken from. So when we're going to talk about reparative justice, then we have to first of all deal with the majority. We have to first of all deal with the majority, and once we resolve that part of the thing, then we can speak on the minority. You understand? So that's the first part of it, right? The next thing I will say is this. I will say everyone, right, who has claim to African ancestry, right? Everyone who has claim to African ancestry is entitled to reparative justice. And why they are entitled to reparative justice is because they have dealt with the effects firsthand of this systematic system of oppression. First hand. Nobody had to tell them about it. It flows in their DNA, right? So that is my position on it.
Okavango.
Yeah, that we have to sometimes we have to kind of narrow it down. I'm not sure if we can be everyone that have African ancestry, because we know it didn't affect all the countries that are not the countries that are now in Africa, because we know when slavery was gone, most of these countries didn't exist. But the countries that are now in Africa, it didn't affect all of those countries. You know what I mean? And it didn't affect those countries the same way. You understand? So
which countries it didn't affect?
What do you mean by that? What do I mean by that?
I mean, we are talking about the transatlantic slave trade, right? Because
Right.
that's the slave trade we're talking
its
about.
effects. And its effects.
And its effects.
And its
So
effects.
I don't think that have an effect on Egypt.
But I think we should defer to
No,
the experts.
no.
I think the experts can do the assessment. Assessment can be done on each region and how the extraction took place. Because we have the records, you know.
Right.
The different companies and corporations that was created and the extraction and what they did with the money after. So what I would recommend is that sometimes everybody think that they are experts on assessing damage, they are economists, and they are mathematicians. The movement of reparation will not be defined by lay people or just people that's emotional or just you know just beat at themselves and beat at them chest. We have to say, listen, the expert will come and they would do the assessment, the accountants,
right,
the social scientists, the economists, the demographics, people who know how to deal with demographics analysis, and they can put together a comprehensive report of how to go about and assess. Matter of fact, they can assess the damage,
Right.
and then how much each region, each country, each people, and down to each individual would need to begin a significant move towards repairing.
But
So,
something
I
I would
want to
like to
say this,
say.
right? When you say that it didn't affect all countries, and we talking about the transatlantic slave trade in particular, I would say when I look at what we speaking about is under the whole auspices of colonialization.
Yes, sir.
So because it is a part of colonization, the entire continent was part of it. Every country was included in it through European conquest.
But Bingy,
Because
Bingy, the fact that we talk about countries, remember that the countries were established through colonial
that's what I'm saying.
intervention.
So it's a broader
that in and of
context when
itself
we speak about
is an effect of it.
right. So it's like this is a byproduct of colonialization when we talk about the slave trade and enslavement of men. So because of that, this is just one aspect of what has happened on the continent under colonization. So it must include all these countries, either directly or indirectly. But all of them have to had some type of participation within trade globally.
And the next thing to Bingy, these countries are not just homogeneous in terms of its ethnicity. You have a whole mix of ethnicities in most of the countries. You understand? So therefore, there are gonna be people, even if we're gonna say this country wasn't there are people in there who may have migrated or for whatever
Because
reason
of it.
been relocated who end up there now.
Right.
You understand?
The effects is intertwined, no matter how you look at it, right? And we're looking at one aspect of what colonization did to Africa and African people. So in that aspect, I say they all responsible.
And let's take Egypt as an example. The Egypt, what you mentioned, the Okavango. You know that Britain had colonized Egypt,
Egypt.
And a lot of looting of Egypt and Kemet was done. A lot of the artifacts of Egypt is in private museum and the British Museum across Europe and America. They have to repatriate all those things under these type of reparative justice measures that we're coming with.
Right.
So Egypt suffered a lot, from Haitian time through colonization.
The Romans and
from the Romans, whatever. So we don't want this turn in a debate of who to get reparations.
Right. You mentioned Egypt. You said wondering if Egypt was touched.
Man. Me mention it, but I say we don't want to turn in a debate because personally, colonization and the transatlantic slave trade is two different crimes. I don't think we should tie them together as the same crime. You understand? Ethiopia.
All right, let's break it down.
Right.
Let's break it down, Brother Dulani. See, explain in a simple terms, in this geopolitical climate, what are reparations and the major forms of reparations, because people tend to get hung up every time they hear the word reparation. They start thinking about money.
But wait,
when it comes down to money, that creates some of the biggest problem among us.
But
see,
Yaga, hold on a second. Let's address what Okavango just said. He said that colonization and the Atlantic slave trade should not be looked at as one and the same. Is that what you're saying, Okavango?
Yes.
It's two different things.
Two different things.
Why is that? Why is it two different things instead of one thing having the effect on everything else? Meaning being a catalyst.
Bangladesh
Yes,
suffer under the hands of colonization, but they didn't suffer under the transatlantic slave trade.
slave trade.
Yes,
But
because people wasn't taken from Bangladesh
Right.
and brought to the West as slaves, but they suffer under colonization.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
Yeah,
can I,
but go ahead, Brother Dulani.
no, I mean, yeah, but you see,
No, make me, brother Duran, make you finish the point.
okay,
Make
go
me
ahead,
you finish the point, remember, make,
go ahead.
then you deal
So
with it, then you deal with
I
the
would
way
I
I
would
deal with
beg
it.
to differ, right? And I'll tell you why. It's so when we and you say Bangladesh and we could say India as well, right? But they
Yeah.
were given the opportunity because of this so-called classism and misunderstanding and miseducation of the Caucasian man, how he separated indigenous people, right? So he gave them the opportunity and say, hey, we'll make you're slaves within your own space, and then we'll give you the opportunity to become indentured laborers, right? But besides from that, all of this is happening because of the colonizer. If there is no colonizer, there's no slave trade. The slave trade is only existing because of the colonizer. That is why it is intertwined. Without the colonizer, there's no slave trade. There's no African exporting Africans to Europe, to the West. That is not happening before colonization. So, because of colonization, we are seeing the effects. Yes, what you're talking about is, hey, they did not take Indians or Bangladeshians from Bangladesh and send them to this. Guess what? Europeans actually enslaved Europeans before they enslaved even Africans and realized that Africans were the most suitable to do the work. There's studies on why they chose
Yes.
Africans because of their natural ability to be strong. They're earth people. They belong. They know what they're doing. And how they know that? They could trace it back in history. But because of colonization is why we have these things happening. Colonization is the catalyst. Colonization
Bingy.
is the catalyst.
Bingy.
This
So
is this is the third class.
yes.
Third class is in full action. So that I have to pay attention and we hope the viewers are full join the reasoning because as you can see, even though the I and I relate on most things, we all think differently and we don't agree on everything all the time. And this is what the reasoning is about. And this is what we want the viewers to experience from the chat class. I don't know if I should let Brother Dulani jump
And
in
before you jump in,
or Uncle
and
Vanguard.
Hold
before
on
you
there.
jump
Retaliate.
in, Brother Dulani, I just want to say one thing too, right? Remember, geographical location also play an important part on who they taking to where. Go ahead.
When it comes to colonization, a lot of countries over the world can claim that they suffer under the hands of colonization. A lot of countries, you know what I mean? Even in Europe itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can say they suffer under the hands of colonization. We're talking about the Ireland, the Scotland, you know what I mean? They suffer
Mm-hmm.
under colonization. Not every country in the world suffer the, what happened in the transatlantic slave trade. We are talking about
Middle Passage.
mass people taken out of Africa and brought to the West. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we know the places because that's what our racism also was born too.
Mm-hmm.
They were taken from West,
Mm-hmm.
East, South Africa predominantly and brought to
Mm-hmm.
the West. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
we know the countries that they were taken from. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Ethiopia didn't really suffer through that. People weren't taken out of Ethiopia you know what I mean, and brought to America or the West. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we cannot say the entire Africa, the countries that were that it affected, that's the country that I think that we should focus on, those countries, to repair those countries that suffered.
So your
But
stance
the
is the
issue,
whole of Africa don't deserve reparation.
Not for the transatlantic slave trade. If it's
but they do. They
colonization, then it's a
do.
different thing.
No, they do.
Um,
Because guess what happened now? Guess what the issue is now, right? The issue is this, and
Brother Dulani,
again,
Dada.
no, man, let's
Dada.
Dada go through. Let's Dada go through. Go through, Dada.
All right. Brother Dulani beg for you. Step on it.
again, right? The consideration is being placed on the ideology of reparative justice as only being financial. So therefore, if we're gonna look on reparative justice as financial, then we could argue that only those countries that had people taken from there, which even though we cannot specifically say these countries that we're gonna say none were taken from, that no citizens of those countries were taken. We can't say that, right? But what I'm saying is this: as a result of the transatlantic slave trade, every African country, every person who is of African descent has suffered from the effects of this trade. Whether their country was one of the countries where they say they got majority of the humans from or not, these countries have suffered directly as a result of the effects of this trade.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I.
That
Um,
one of our pride, and I want to go on to the five things about reparation. So this is the last thing I want to say about this. One of the
Have your
pride,
final say if you want to have your final say. Otherwise, Brother Dulani is going to take it away.
right? So one of the pride of us as Africans is Ethiopia, because Ethiopia remained unconquered. Ethiopia, you know what I mean, was never
Militarily.
colonized.
Militarily.
Was let me finish that.
Yeah, but may I
So
say
that is our
militarily,
pride.
not
That
unconquered, but militarily.
let me finish that man. They say I said after. So Ethiopia was never conquered, and we have that pride for Ethiopia because it was never conquered. You know what I mean? So we can now go and say Ethiopia should get some kind of reparation when we have them as, you know what I mean? We can't be two-sided about it.
We're not two-sided. That's why I tell us if we clarify that
So
I said
what would
militarily.
Ethiopia get reparation for?
Because
if I
of
may
the
add,
colonization that they experienced under European hands. They were not militarily colonized, but they were religiously colonized. So there's a difference.
if I may add to this
Yeah.
discussion, I think this is a very important talking point because
Yes, sir.
we have heard this before. There was a time when the movement was accused of not attaching colonization to the movement. I remember distinctively
It
that
has to be attached.
people was complaining that why you are not talking about colonialism as well. But anyway, I think the framing, I think we slightly, I mean, some of the arguments are valid, you know, but I think we need to frame the discussion around harm, repairing the harm. You see, and we're not going to discount any nation around the world that was harmed by
Yes, sir.
imperialism and capitalism.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We have to frame reparative justice is for repairing the harm and the damages that was done to anyone under any circumstances,
Yes, sir.
not just enslavement.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened mentally, our brain has fixed reparation around enslavement.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of ring fence reparation around enslavement. But reparation is for damages done to any group of people, whether in war, in peace, doing enslavement, out of enslavement, once we can quantify and
Mhm.
The
assess the damage,
injustice.
justice must be done. So
Mhm.
that is how I would frame it. So that's what I'm saying. The experts, them, the historians, the people them who can go into the records and look at what was done to the different region of the world and the different peoples of the world and see what damage was done, who were responsible for the damage, and
Yes,
bring
I.
forward the ledger and make it public and says these people are due
Brother
reparation,
Dulani,
reparative justice. Yes, sir.
we're gonna
Yeah.
come to that point in the reasoning. Seeing, when we say to Kavonga upon you know, we're gonna come to that point in the reasoning where we expound on that point that you're making. But we want to make it clear to the listeners what is reparation or what are reparations in this current geopolitical context and break it down into the different major components of reparations.
No, what we're talking about in reference to the declaration. See, now that's where we know we have to look at specific issues. The declaration, the gravest crime against humanity is dealing predominantly with the enslavement of African people, the trafficking of enslaved African people. We have to deal with that. That's within the United Nations confinement. Now, I hear they mention that they're requesting a formal apology. I hear they mention. I mean, they did not, and I think two things we have to keep in mind. What happened in the UN was a strategy, and it was also symbolic. So it was both. It was both a symbolic move, but a strategic move for us moving forward. So we have something to lay our foundation upon. So this creates a foundation for us to use in our battle moving forward, because they call for the return of artifacts, they call for the decade of action and reparation, and they call for formal apology and so forth. But under UN convention, there's actually specific pillars laid out, framework laid out already by the United Nations to deal with grave violation of human rights and systematic injustice. You understand?
Well, so there's precedence.
Yes,
There's precedence.
so that's what we really want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
But this declaration did not specifically go down that line to talk about the 5 pillars.
Right.
And we can now let our people know, say, we're going to show you what the UN framework is and the right to remedy for gross violation of human rights and systematic injustice. But the declaration didn't go this far because it was not a reparation declaration.
Right.
It was a declaration that a crime was committed, a grievous crime that now give us the opportunity or the groundwork now to move towards what we're going to talk about now.
Right.
See? So according to the United Nations, there are 5 pillars of reparation, and they are restitution, compensation, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and guarantees of non-repetition. This is how we go about addressing damages done to a population, a people, a group. And when we talk about restitution, we talk about
non-reoccurrence.
Yeah, non-repetition is non-reoccurrence. But there have to be guarantees in place, and that may be the most significant of all these things, but they're all intertwined. There's none of them really more, I said, dominant than the other one, but we're going to go through them, all 5 of them, and kind of give a brief summary of what they entail. So restitution, deal with re-establishing And the aim is to restore the victim to the original state, to restore them to what they were before you damage them. So whether it's return of land, property, or restoring their citizenship, their liberty, or their moral standing, their reputation, you have to restore. You have to whatever measures it take to restore them. And in our situation, repatriation would be a part of restoration for those who would like to return to Africa and rebuild and reconnect with their African roots. The restitution would provide that pathway.
Right.
And it should facilitate that. That should be a remedy that will come at no cost to the victim. You understand? So,
right. Because the original act was at no cost to them.
Exactly. So the databases that's needed to the naming, because we need to establish name database. Changing of the names of people back to the African, forward to the African name should be a smooth and painless process. You understand? Practicing and African culture should become available. There shouldn't be no ban or any restriction towards the cultivation of African culture. All those type of things are under restitution.
Right.
And then we go to number 2, which where most people talk about, which is the compensation.
Brother Dulani, before you go to that one, Brother Dulani, you made a point in the reasoning, say it should be available for those who want to go back to Africa. What do you mean by that?
Well, that's a part of the restitution if you're dealing with the enslavement of African people. Because remember, one of the first group of people to bring forward reparation was the Rasta movement, you know. And Rasta always talk about repatriation and reparation. So there are many amongst us who want to return home, who see Africa as our motherland.
Right.
And we should give them the opportunity to return, to resettle, and then now with our internal repairing, because we always deal with internal and external repair. Amongst us and our African brothers and sisters, we have to work out provisions for us to return. Land should have to be available for us to resettle back in Africa. That's where the governments of Africa, the AU, CARICOM, and other regional governments have to sit down now and work out a plan for those who want to return to make the integration become as seamless as possible and as cost effective as possible. But land, well, it must become made available. You know what I'm saying? It must be made available. And that's where many of the those who say that they were involved in the enslavement of African people can contribute. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Because a lot of them still to this day hold titles to land that they gain from them.
Right. And then you have the chiefs. You have many of the chiefs them who are custodian of the land. Even though under African principle, no one owned the land.
Can't own land.
Right.
Land is generational. You get land, and when you pass on land to your children, your grandchildren, and so forth and so on.
Right.
Sure.
But there's a lot of tribal land that can be cut up and given to returning Africans
People
to settle and to integrate into African society. So that measure will have to be done. There have to be a process. There have to be some type of organization and structure put in place to facilitate that return, that restitution of African people. And the restitution, it also includes the artifacts, you know. I didn't mention that. So it also includes return artifacts and all those type of things. But also people. With me, I did focus more on the people, but me notice there's a big movement towards the artifacts as well, and I don't oppose that.
No, it's a significant
archives.
part of it.
And archives, yes.
It's a significant part of it.
And even bodies, I get to understand, even bodies and that they have taken, and skulls and all kind of
Mhm.
doggeries, you know. Yeah,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
Full,
Yes,
full,
sir.
full
So
So in
citizens'
saying that,
rights,
Brother
right?
Dulani, does that mean there are some people who might not want to make the trial?
exactly. So under compensation now for those who want to remain in the West, they can be compensated, be given an opportunity, given some financial upliftment, some
but
means to.
even those who return would still get a good
Yeah.
compensation
You're
too.
going to return the compensation as well.
Mhm.
So you can stay in the West if you choose to stay. When we get done, we're moving into compensation now. So those will get a compensation now to aid them with their living. Um, Maybe want to go to school or open a
Mhm.
business
Mhm.
or get some treatment or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah,
they
man.
will
Yeah,
they will
right.
afford that opportunity, and they may very well want to travel to Africa to go and experience,
Mm.
interact and forward in the West. So
Right.
there's no restriction, but
Yes,
there
sir.
will be there must be some financial compensation.
Mm. But what we are saying still, no, Brother Delani, is this, right? We are saying, of the
Hmm.
five pillars, right? Of the five
Yes, sir.
pillars, compensation, rehabilitation, restitution, guarantee of non-repetition and satisfaction, right?
Yes, sir.
The compensation, to me personally, is the least significant. And the reason why I say it's the least significant is because they have an old saying that they say, if you teach a man how to fish or you give him a fish, it says better to teach a man how to fish than to give him
Hmm.
a fish. Because if you give him a fish, you feed him for a day. But if you teach
Hmm.
him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Right? So the compensation to me would be equated to giving a person a fish. You
Yes.
understand?
Yes.
If the other pillars are
It's
not
not meant.
addressed, then it's
Then
a waste of time.
yes, that's
It's a
correct.
complete and utter waste of time. And
That's correct.
what happened now is that people who are privy to the discussion of reparations, right,
Hmm.
become so caught up on the idea of compensation that they don't give any kind of consideration to the other pillars. Sometimes they don't even know about the other pillars because if you never bring it down with that clarity,
Yes,
they would
they've
not
never
even
been
know.
informed. The
Side, side,
education and the
side.
awareness have not
Hmm.
been done, and that's
Right.
why even in the UK where we are, we constantly push the reparation and push the concept. We have it
Hmm.
recorded, believe it or not, the five pillars
Five
and in
pillars.
Yes,
audio
sir.
form, and
Hmm.
we inform our people on the radio,
Hmm.
in our
Hmm.
literature, in our
Hmm.
speeches, in our
Right, right.
interviews. We
Which
have
is
Mhm.
to,
key.
which is key.
And that now, Brother Delani, those
Yes,
other four pillars,
yes, sir.
right, are the reason why we say every African is entitled to
Mhm.
reparations.
Yes,
Because every one of them has suffered under this international system of oppression.
yes.
Every one of them.
Don't
Hmm.
pressure, Dada. Don't pressure.
Don't pressure.
Yes.
So restitution,
Yes, sir.
compensation,
So we say
rehabilitation.
compensation now, my lad, say that is that is definitely everybody knows money, straight up money.
Hmm.
Yeah.
See it. Let me see what this thing I said.
And when we talk about money now, that cause a problem between, because everybody are worried about how is the money gonna share up, how is it
Right.
gonna be
Right.
distributed, and who's
Hmm.
supposed to get and who not to get.
Yes.
Hmm.
Everyone gets selfish,
So
man. When people
most
the money, them
people,
get selfish.
yes, most people them get hang up on the money. In America, like the FBA, them cut the check, and the mind of the people, and when I say cut the check, is damaged, and they're not even thinking about the rehabilitation of their mind.
Mm-mm.
See it. They're
Mm-mm.
not even thinking about the rehabilitation of their culture, their
Mhm.
language, their morals, their values. That is far from their mind. All
Right.
they
Fire,
want is a cut
fire,
check, so I
Rehabilitation.
can go buy me a Cadillac, I can go
fire,
buy me a Tesla, I can
fire,
maybe buy a house,
mm,
and I'm good.
fire. You see
Mhm.
the compensation? If the compensation is the initial move towards reparations, it's just going to be a greater
The
payday
waste.
for the Europeans.
That
because
waste.
the true purpose that this
Mhm.
compensation could achieve would not, because they cannot achieve it if the
Right.
mental psychological repair does not occur.
That's
If
correct.
the
That's correct.
first and primary aspect to reparations has to be the psychological repair of the
Th-
people.
That's why it cannot be no
So it should be
isolation.
rehabilitation as the first
Yes,
pillar.
man. Yes,
It cannot
man.
be done.
Rehabilitation.
Yeah, man.
Reparation cannot be
I
done in
think so too.
isolation.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
cannot be done like it has to be a holistic approach.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You cannot just try apply just money. You have to
Right.
apply rehabilitation, and then now the rehabilitation. I mean, you know, compensation is actually compensate for damages, for physical
Right.
and mental damages,
Right.
Because when you think
loss of
about it, brother
opportunities.
Delany, compensation go come into rehabilitation, because it
Yeah.
go take
Yes,
money. It go take money
yes,
to bring about this rehabilitation.
exactly,
So the
exactly.
have to be established to bring about the rehabilitation. Those things
Yes,
are gonna be
Mhm.
under compensation, but it's
Mhm.
not gonna be that individual compensation that the
yes.
people
Right.
thinking about. We're
And,
talking about collective now.
right,
Mhm.
and if there is some cash, it would not be any significant or anything that can sustain you for any long
Right.
period of time of a generation. It will
Mhm.
only be some temporary upliftment. But when you put it into institution, you're talking about generational effect.
Yes,
Mhm.
sir.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Systematic. That
yeah,
is the term.
yes,
Systematic.
yes. Maybe we could even create a banking system
Mm.
where the money grow and everybody can get an interest. Like when them
Interest
discover
free,
them,
interest
them
free loan and them thing
discover
there. Yeah.
oil, and
Mm.
you give everybody a stipends. Like in
Access to
Libya,
capital.
They
Access
do
to
like Libya
capital.
Gaddafi. Do like
Gaddafi
Gaddafi did.
he gave
Yes.
everybody in the population a little touch. And
Mm.
Hmm.
even putting that in a position now where they can give everybody that the population a
Yeah.
touch
Yeah.
with
Mm.
oil revenue. So if you put it into a particular fund or
But
banking,
with the current state of mind, brother Delany, if
mhm,
you bring that to the people, them not accept that. Them will tell us, say, cut the check.
cut the check.
Cut the
Yes,
check.
yes. So
What you
we are
say?
more
But people
curious.
who reason like that
Cut
though,
that check.
people who reason like that and not talk about the money, the money, the money. If you give them the money right now,
They won't know what
the
to
money
do.
will end up back in the oppressor
Yeah.
hand by
You know
tomorrow.
that we are saying, that we are
Yes,
saying that.
yes, that's exactly
Yeah.
right. So
So we know that we cannot cut a check. It has to be some institutions or something like that. You know what I mean? And as the item say, the money part would have been the last thing,
To
because we
mhm,
have
deal
to
with.
rehabilitate first,
Yeah, man.
repatriate first, and
Yeah, man.
then when you adapt it, when you're African again and whole again, there comes the all right compensation. You know what I
so
mean? Because now you have the mind to use it in the right place to you know what I mean, to up
Mm.
yourself as an African.
Yes, sir.
You know what I
Yes,
mean?
sir. Mm. Yeah,
so that
just
leads us
like if you
into
build a house, Just like
yeah,
if you build a house, You have to
yes,
start from the
Yeah.
foundation,
foundation,
then you come up to window height, then you come up to
yes,
lintel, then you come up
the
to
roof,
belting, then you put on the roof. So the
mhm,
compensation would have been the roof now.
yes,
That
the
final
crown,
No, sir.
protection.
The compensation is the furniture in the house.
The furniture. Yo, hey,
The pretty things, you know.
Okamongo slick.
It no
Okamongo
reach
slick.
nowhere, so yet.
Well, I know, I go burn him now, I go burn him. So you hear him now, the compensation of the furniture. Him is a furniture maker. He want the compensation to be the furniture. So that means that
It
the money
ends
gonna
with
come
them.
to him now. You think you're slick?
Yeah,
well,
cut the
and,
check
well,
and make the money circulate in our
well,
community.
well, that
Yeah,
leads
but
us right into rehabilitation now, because this
Yes,
is
sir.
where the people them get the support they need now. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to address the long-term impact of the harm,
Yeah, man.
the psychological
Psychological.
Yeah,
damage,
man. Yeah,
the
man.
mental damage, and then
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
you have like a lot of disease that have been incubated from enslavement. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Mhm.
From
Mm-hmm.
colonization, from stress that has been passed on epigenetically onto
Mm-hmm.
this generation, hypertension, diabetes, and many others um, is a factor that we have to deal
Mhm.
with.
Mhm.
See. So the health, the medical institution them have to be propped up and underpin. You know what I'm saying?
See.
So yeah, so the reparative measures have to be taken for that, along with the cultural and psychological and educational. So those rehabilitative measures had to be brought into place.
Yeah, man.
You know,
Definitely.
so-
And we focus a lot, Brother Dulani, on the psychological effects, right? But
yes,
we also have to talk about the health and medical effects too, because
that's
a
correct.
lot of the conditions that African people endure today can be directly traced to the effects of colonization, enslavement,
Yes,
and all these things that they implement under this system of down oppression. You see me?
yes,
So all those things have to be dealt with in a rehabilitation as well.
that is correct, my brother. And you
Eh,
know,
eh, that's about that, you know. That's about that, you know. Yeah, look on the foods them where in
Yes,
this part of the
yes,
world we have
yes.
as our favorite food. Our favorite food, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jamaicans love chicken back, and you know what I mean, and American love them as them food them love. Whatever. But we check out all them food when they say oh
Soul food.
Jamaican favorite food or American favorite food. Some real unhealthy food, you know, where I mean it was survival food, but it's some unhealthy survival food where you have to eat
Yes,
them
sir.
time there.
Yes,
And
sir.
it,
Yes,
you
sir.
know what I mean? We make it seem like it's some like the best food in the world, but the worst food in the world.
yeah, and
The
and,
worst food
and
in the world.
remember
You know what I mean?
the sugar plantation. You know, a lot of sugar was consumed.
Yes,
You know what
sir.
I'm
Yes,
saying? And
man.
no
Yes,
sugar
sir.
Everything you
available.
put sugar in.
Yes,
Yes, and
sir.
also breadfruit.
Remember, see the plantation. Brother
Yeah,
Dulani.
yes.
Remember, see the plantation we live on, you know, and we used to name it cane for breakfast, you know.
All right. Yes, I. So you know, all those are factors, and
What
they
you say
affect
about
it.
the breadfruit, Brother Dulani?
It was brought in because it was used to feed the Africans them
To
and the
give them energy.
in the concentration camp. So
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of those things, and they're full of what you call carbohydrates and energy.
Carbohydrates, yeah.
You know, see, so those was the kind of diet that they fed the Africans so they can work them.
They
You know,
would.
see.
Yeah,
Because they
yeah.
want more energy
Energy.
than anything
It's
else.
So you see,
energy.
Brother Dulani,
Yes, sir.
there's a psychology around that, you know. As
Yes,
Bingy has said, it's needed for the energy because you're doing backbreaking hard work, so you need that
Right.
energy
that's correct.
so
Yes.
you can sustain and carry on pulling your weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. It was dread, man. It was dreadful in
Terrible, man.
Jamaica in particular, you know, because you see all when you see the mill where them have horse and do the mill. Hey, you have man to feed the mill, you know, and them have you have a machine next to him, you know. You don't know why, cause him can't stop working, you know. And if him fall asleep and him hand get caught in the mill, you know, I hit that, you know. But if you chop
Go
it off,
on.
you know. So those are some of the dreadful things, man. You have to stay up,
What
man.
do them go through? Yes, sir. Real talk, man.
Breaking work.
Real
You know,
talk.
see,
So,
So that'll
All
be
of
Brother
those,
Dulani,
all of those atrocities.
rehabilitation, right?
eh?
And that rehabilitation will be providing medical, psychological, and social services.
yes,
That,
sir.
that's correct.
Right.
Yes,
That's
sir.
correct, my brother. That's correct. So that's what it's all about there. And that leads us on to the next one now. Now, my brother,
Satisfaction.
what we're doing here is only summary, you know, because it's deep. Because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
experts, that's why I say we need to rely on the expert, the people who study reparative justice, who study reparation. They are highly qualified people, and there are people that's going to measure in these subject matters
Right.
where they can go into the deep depths of what need to be done. And we have
So in other words, Brother Villani, in other words, no aspect that needs consideration will be ignored.
exactly
Every aspect will be considered.
would be considered. You know
But,
what I'm
but,
saying?
more, but more importantly, handled by those who are experts in the subject.
Subject exactly. So we're going to rely on expert. We're not going to rely on no cult leaders and
Mhm.
no hate mongers and them people that define the parameters of the repair. We're going
And
to rely on the
if the
experts.
listeners as well, right, Brother Dulani want to hear the details, they can always check out Clear Thinking because there are videos on the Clear Thinking channel which speak primarily on the process of reparations. They
That's
can
correct.
check out the videos uploaded on the Perfect Balance chat class because we have videos primarily
Mhm.
speaking and in
Episode
detail on
23.
episode
Episode
23.
23.
Episode 23 on
Right.
the Perfect Balance Short Class, where we speak in depth on the idea of reparations and what it entails and how it's supposed to be handled. You understand? So this is just a follow-up from the
Yeah.
resolution which we were discussing
Yesterday.
in the
First slide.
United Nations Assembly, speaking
Right.
of identifying the slave trade, slavery, as the gravest human atrocity in our recorded history. So that's why we're speaking of it now, to say, okay, now you've taken the step of acknowledging this already known or already established
Mhm.
fact. You've now acknowledged it, right? Something which should have been acknowledged a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're saying the next step is now to do something about
Yes.
it. And the
Because
something that has to be done about it is reparative
yes.
justice.
Because the move is a strategic move.
Mm.
It's a strategic move. Set us up for the next move.
Yes,
It's
sir.
chess. It's
Yes, sir.
3D
Yes, sir.
and
Yes,
4D
sir.
chess.
And you
So
said something initially too, no, brother Dolani, that I wanted. And when you said it, I said, there's precedence, right?
mhm,
You established that there is already recorded policy and procedures of dealing with people who have gone through atrocities, i.e., and I'm gonna use one of these people that voted no,
mhm,
right? I.e., victims of the Holocaust.
yes.
They received reparative justice,
Mhm,
right? They received reparative justice. And as a result of this reparative justice that they received, they were able to establish themselves as a leading force in geopolitical, in the geopolitical arena, right?
mhm,
So what we're saying is there should be no issue with handling that for Africans, because you've
mhm,
already handled this for a particular people. And not just
mhm,
one, I might add, because we could also name the French. They were paid reparative measures after losing Haiti as a colony.
mhm,
You understand what
mhm.
I'm saying? So there are
Yeah.
many instances and examples where people who have suffered loss have been given reparative justice through these organizations, and this should be no different for African people.
And then
We
let me
have
add to that.
we have a what am I doing? We have a super chat from Nak Mizi. Um Nak Mizi
I hope
says,
you say it right, you
huh?
know. I hope you are saying him right, you know. We apologize if him not
Yeah, I
say it right
apologize if I'm
here,
not saying the
people.
name right. Yeah, Nak Mizi. Nak Mizi says the check must be cut. With the money, you can do what you need to do. Relying on it is what this mean white people, white to
Whitey.
under white, what's that? White people, right?
Whitey, yeah, Whitey, yeah.
Yeah. To
Whitey,
under
Whitey.
reparation is crazy.
Mm.
So let's address not Measy. I hope I'm saying your name right.
But I think Brother Dulani already, we kind of addressed the compensation part as
Yeah.
being the least of all the pillars, right? And we got to move away from this narrative that, hey, we understand that money is going to be needed. What we say in this individual compensation that people have in their mind is not what we're speaking about. We're talking about a global, from a global perspective,
Mhm,
where we have organizations. So once you have these steps, the resolution, the rehabilitation, the satisfaction, the guarantee of non-repetition, then you would understand how to use that money when it's given to you. But first, these processes must happen. During
mhm,
these processes, money is needed.
mhm,
Absolutely. So that's why we talk about compensation, because even to go through these processes, you need money to set up
mhm,
for institution to rehabilitate people, to have restitution, bring back artifacts or land, property. It needs money. We understand that. But what we're speaking about is on a global scale for Africans, right? Not on an individual scale. When these things are achieved, then compensation, when you do get that money, you'll know what to do with it. Because you're only looking at it from a monetary point of view, which is cut the check. The checks
And
will be cut, but
and I
not
want
in
to
the
say
manner
something
that you
too.
think that they will be cut.
I want to say something in response
Oh,
to the
one
commenter
another.
as
I
well.
want to big up all the viewers and subscribers who have joined us this morning. As I can hear, the discussion is about reparations, and I mean yeah,
Yeah.
like, share. I mean, share the video, please. Like and share the video. Go on to that.
Yeah. So when the listener says we cannot leave reparations in the hand of whitey, I think that that is a overstanding of what we're saying. We're not saying
Mm-hmm.
that reparations is going to be left in the hands of what
Mm.
of any external force. What we're saying is, right, there are experts that are not white that Pan-Africanists have in place to analyze all of these things, all of these issues, all of these conditions, and come up with a suitable package involving all of these 5 pillars, right, that will be ensured or entitled to victims of this atrocity. So we're not talking about leaving reparations in the hands of white people. We're
Yeah.
talking about
But
a
That is a
and
sustainable.
I
misunderstanding.
want to say, just based on that too,
Mm,
this process will allow us to be independent, to be sovereign, to be free of this colonial system. The whole
mhm.
point of this is to become free of what is happening now. So once these things are implemented, that's how we move away
From
from
that.
this system of
Mhm,
oppression and colonization.
mhm,
Yes. I just want to add, because I think a great example of the kind of misconception when we talk about reparation. Reparation is not about white people repairing black people.
mhm,
The experts that we're talking about will be African led experts. The institution will be African led. The curriculums or the methods for repair will all be African design and
Mhm.
African led. You know
mhm,
what I'm saying? And most of it will be scientifically based,
mhm.
based on best practices. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So we're not
Mhm,
going to be sitting here um, making it up as we go, pretending, playing around. We're talking about significant repair that begins in the elementary schools, in the what they call it, the kindergarten or
Mhm.
basic school and primary school on a societal level, the communal level. So we're not messing about when we're talking about building a medical system or reinforcing our medical system in each of these countries that's been affected and amongst the people them. It's not joke. These are real tangible things that
African problems, African
we
solutions.
African solution. But
mhm.
Yes,
that
sir.
resources and that financial resources and other resources is what is due to us. It is
Mhm.
due from what they have done to us for the damage and also for the free labor, the free building that we have contributed to the Western world. A lot of this wealth that's been accumulated is due to us.
Mhm,
It's redistributing that wealth back to who it belongs
Mhm.
to, rightfully. And we need to
mhm.
use it collectively to build up ourselves. So cutting the check to individual will only dilute the whole movement. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
I,
I mean,
I
you're
want
cutting
to
the
give
check.
thanks to not me. He said I don't want to say he. Okay, I don't know if it's he or she, but
Mhm.
from Flatbush and in Europe. So I'm guessing not me living in Europe now. But not me said something earlier. He said Ghana asking for reparation is crazy. They stole our ancestors. So I want to put that to the panel. And I also want to ask, not Measy, where is this his ancestors came from? You know what I mean?
Right.
Let me add to that. Now let me just put this to him. Say, during our enslavement, Ghana never existed. Let me just put it.
Right. Okay.
The countries of Ghana never existed. There was no Ivory Coast, there was no Cameroon, there was no Nigeria. These are newly developed countries.
Right.
Okay, the kingdoms are the groups, are the individuals that participate in our enslavement in them time. They were obliterated. Those kingdoms were destroyed. They no longer existed. Colonization took over. The European occupied Africa and built up those regions and
draw lines.
Draw lines and carve up Africa. We Africans fought them and take over the land and liberated ourselves. So these new nations are liberated nations that fought for liberation. Unfortunately, they are still continuing. Many of them are continuing the colonial policy that was
I want to address something in the comment section as well, right? We were speaking earlier about the health implications and the necessity of adding that to the rehabilitation process, because a lot of health conditions that we as African people are face today is directly related to our diet. Okay, so there are people in the comment section who are saying that we're stereotyping African Americans in terms of food, and many Caribbean stereotype us. It's not surprising. I just want to say that that comment that we made was not in terms of stereotyping. It was in terms of identifying that a lot of the foods that we were given to eat are a result of the conditions that we face today. And we did not primarily speak only of any group of people. We're saying anywhere Africans were taken, they were given a particular diet. And a lot of these people today face medical conditions because of the diets which they were given. So we're saying that the rehabilitation process would have to also address those effects as well. That's what we're saying. We're not stereotyping anyone based on food, ideology,
anything. To the comment, to that same comment, we're telling the person, look on what is going on today. Look at the health issues that we suffer. Look at the type of food that we are eating. You know what I mean? When did we start eating this food? Right? Because it's there. We know the type of food that causing the problem. You look at it, you know what I mean? Because we are survivors as African, you know what I mean? We take something like what them call American, them call it chitlins, the intestine of the animal. I would turn it into a meal because we need to survive, and we season it and make it. You know what I mean?
But that's all over. That's all over too, you know. It's just that in America they probably use the pig, but in Jamaica
I'm not giving an example. So slaves use that and you use that and then turn it into something that is tasty and something that, you know what I mean, to the palate. You know what I mean? But if given the choice, no one would eat that, man. They wouldn't eat it. It's survival food it's survival food.
And the same food them give people in the Caribbean too, but we don't call it chitlins, we call it tripe.
No, but I'm speaking based on I'm looking at example.
I'm giving an example.
So
I'm saying it's
you go anywhere and you find the food. I mentioned earlier about chicken back in the Caribbean. It will go on and on. Goat head soup, cow cod soup, all these things are slave food. It's slave food, you know what I mean? But we turn it into something that, you know what I mean, when we call oxtail and them things, it's slave food. And these things are not nutritious, you know what I mean? We turn them into something for survival, just to survive, and you know what I mean? And we have to come to the mindset to move away from these things because now it's killing us.
Roots, and I want to be clear, right? When we're talking about the diet and how it affects the body from then till now, like certain foods that we mentioned too, we have to remember is introduced what the European ate, right? Like I mentioned oxtail, for example. Oxtail is not a African thing by no means, right? It's really a European thing. European people eat them things, right? Their bodies are designed different from our bodies, right? But the food, specific foods that they gave us during slavery. And even now, the access to the foods that we have now, we can see how it has changed the human condition, the
True.
sickness that we suffer today,
Hold on
whether
there.
it's
Freddy, Freddy, one
whether it's
moment. Freddy, one
mental
moment. Freddy,
or
one moment.
physical.
Yaga, see if you can get not me easy a link, cause it seemed like them want to come on the trad class. So see if
Yeah,
you
but
can get a link to not me easy. Cause I must say, may I have a link, please? So if you can get a link, so them can probably join. See if them able to do that
Okay,
now.
let me
Yaga.
join.
wait,
All right, Yaga.
Okay,
Yaga.
let me say this on
wait.
that issue.
Here, don't right.
Biggie.
For,
Go on,
Don't.
Biggie.
I don't think you should really be just jump in like that. Like maybe we should finish our segment, go through the last 2 points, right?
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Because we on reparation. Let Brother Dulan finish up the points, and then maybe you can
yeah,
entertain this person, right?
yeah.
But that's
Put them
still
in
a
Yeah.
discussion on reparation still. So we welcome
yes,
the
yeah, yeah,
conversation, same man.
Bingy right, man. Bingy right. We'll finish what we are trying to
No.
make class first, and then okay, we
yeah,
can set it up for our
Yeah.
next time too.
yeah,
You
to
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
seal up
We welcome.
to seal up the diet part now.
Yeah,
Remember
man.
what the African was given was the discarded from what
Yes,
the
man.
European had.
Oxtail and
So
Yes,
Mhm.
garbage,
sir.
oxtail and the
yeah,
waste.
so when them discard the belly, we take the belly, wash it out and cook it.
Right.
We take the foot and we cook it and make something out of the foot.
Right.
The
The
skin
head.
of the
What am I
animal,
want?
in dash for the skin, we take
Yeah.
it and we make it out something out of it.
Yeah.
So
Liver,
that's how
kit, all them
the
things there.
lot of those diet came about because of discarded element. Because
Mm-hmm.
the European would take the best part of the animal
Mm-hmm.
and he would have that for himself and his family. And
Mm-hmm.
the discarded portion, it was those
Hmm.
in the yard or in the plantation would take it and make something of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They take lemon and make lemonade as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Right.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's how that came about. So we didn't come from Africa really with
We
Right.
are the
that.
survivors, man. We are survivors, and that's what
Mm.
African people do anywhere we go. We try to survive,
Mm.
and that is just part of our survivor. We use that to survive. You know what I mean?
Survive.
But in
Yeah.
this time now, we have to come out of that state of surviving, and we have to start living.
Right.
And
Mhm.
eating these things is not living, man. It's not living. We have to
Yeah.
be
So
Yes,
able to
sir.
start
that's
living.
part of the
And that's why
rehabilitation is
reparation.
that, right?
That's why that's why reparation is so valuable because we're
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
rehabilitation. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Go back to what we were eating before. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Medical,
Yes, sir.
physical, dietary, all of it.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah. So the
Delroy
next point will be
Constantine
satisfaction,
Sims.
right?
yes,
Delroy
so satis
Constantine Sims. Delroy Constantine Sims, aka the Black Book Collective 880, made a calm comment saying, good discussion, but let's look at what's happening in Shashamane in Ethiopia. The land was given, but the skill set was not there. And that
Right.
is a perfect representation
Example.
of
Yeah.
what we're saying in
Hmm.
terms of the correct order in
Mhm.
which reparation or reparative justice should occur. The
Right.
first thing has to be the rehabilitation. If the
Yes.
rehabilitation does not occur, it then the other pillars become weakened.
But I think there must have to be a simultaneous approach, I think we may have to
Go
move.
ahead, Durani.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. Right.
So we have to move.
So Brother Dulan, you want to touch
Go
on the
on,
next
brother
point?
Durani. Go on, go on.
Yeah. So I think we may have to
Satisfaction.
move simultaneously using. Remember, those examples will become valuable. What happened in
Mhm.
Shashamane, we learn
Right.
from it, and
Mm.
even some of the programs in Ghana right now, we
Yes.
learn from them, and
Mhm.
this give us a chance to perfect the repair, to make the
Hmm.
repair as effective as possible. So I mean, it's not like we have all the answers, but at least we know what need to be done, and we're willing to try
Hmm.
the best practice. Now we're moving to satisfaction. This is where we now set up, try to restore the dignity and the honor of our people, our ancestors. And
Right.
this is where people also include a formal apology for the damage, like a lot of these nations who participated in the enslavement of our people, they can come out and give a formal apology. But this is where we can also erect monument and also memorials to memorialize our ancestors. We can also begin to, you know, make sure that the educational curriculum of the Western world include an accurate version of our story. In our school, all children. Matter of fact, this should be a part of world history.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the world could know about the gravest crime against humanity and what the impact was, so we can honor our ancestors, honor our people. And so that's what it focus around building money. I think it should be monuments in every community. You know, see
Commemorations.
commemoration, you know, see
Yes.
about our people. And I would say there are some practices that we need to probably begin to bring about, you know. It's like naming ceremony. We should bring that as like a weekly, monthly practice where we every month we have a naming ceremony where we bring forward our people, 10, 20 people, and we give them new name, you know, then pick the name, and we have a big ceremony. The whole
Yes,
community,
sir.
we talk with the name they mean, where they come from, and all
Yes,
those
sir.
things that we can bring on a communal level, and we have them on a monthly basis. You know, see, so when I say, boy, this week or my week, like me African name, you know,
Yes, sir.
see, and my and we start practicing the name how it's sound, and on that day, everybody come out and we celebrate, and we just, you know, them little thing there. We have a massive database of name where people can pick out. So, yeah, those are some of the things that, you know, so we can begin to preserve our story.
Yes, sir.
And again, we want to give thanks for everyone that's joining us this morning. We're having a discussion about reparations for African people. And we want to give thanks for everyone that joined the chat class. Please like, share, and leave a comment. Participate
Yes,
in the discussion. We have today we have Brother Delani, who is a reparation activist, and I mean, him know one expert, an activist, and I mean, so he's here and he's giving us the 5 columns, right? The 5 columns of reparation, you know what I mean? Because it's not just about monetary,
compensation.
It's a lot more. So Brother Dan is going through the columns of reparation. As I said, like, share, and join the conversation.
Yes,
I.
And then we're moving right
And
along.
I would like to just add a bit to what Okavango has just said. Brother Dulani is a pioneering member of the UK reparation movement, and he has been documenting since the inception of the movement. So he's a man who is integral and a column in the reparation movement in the community, on the front line in the UK.
Yes, sir.
Big respect to everyone. I must say that there are far more qualified people in the UK to represent reparation than I am. But I am a soldier, and I will be here to represent to the best of my ability. I stand on the shoulders of many, and you know, I represent. So it's not.
Brother Durani, give a shout out to those giants that you are referring to. I know Sister Esther. I don't remember her last name. Joseph.
Sister Esther Stanford Jose is one of the leading pioneer in the UK, and she's also the Secretary General of the Stop the Manganese campaign. She's one of the architects of the reparation political movement, the social movement for reparation in the UK. Intricately involved in reparation consultation on a parliamentary level with MPs and other international actors who are pushing for reparation. So she is a highly sought after reparation expert. I have had the privilege of working with her for over 10 years. So I give thanks for that. So anyone can get in touch with the Stop the Manganese campaign at stopthemanganese.com. Also, there was the African Emancipation Day Reparation March Committee that has been instrumental in carrying out an annual reparation march from Brixton Rinworth Square to Parliament Square every year on the 1st of August to demand and chant and protest for reparation and action and reparative justice, and to demand the establishment of an all-party parliamentary commission for truth and reparative justice in the UK Parliament to deal with bringing forward the UK respond to the global impact of colonialism and the enslavement of African people under the British Empire until today. So that movement is still active. There is in Parliament right now an all parliamentary group, all party parliamentary group in place right now that's run by our sister Roberto Ben Bella. She was also instrumental with the declaration that was declared in the United Nations. So she was behind the scene, one of those actors behind the scene who were helping to shape the language and shape the policy that turned into the declaration and the resolution that we see today that was implemented on the 25th of March. So the UK
And Brother
contingency...
Lord, we're talking about the UK, right? In the UK, right?
Yes, the UK.
Mhm.
UK
Yeah,
contingency has been highly visible, and I believe the UK contingency have helped to intensify the reparation movement globally and kept it alive, because annually, every year, we bring thousands of people out into the streets. We lock down the streets from Brixton to Parliament Square to demand reparation, and the images have shot all across the globe, and it is the largest street demonstration for reparation in the world take place in the UK. And that movement have got the attention of many politicians and many MPs and the UK government and also the CARICOM and around the world. So we don't want to minimize the role that this movement have played in the overall global movement. And we're not going to minimize the role of others who have played in Africa, from Abuja Conference back in Nigeria in 1993 to also the Global African Congress conference that took place in Barbados. We're not going to exclude them, or the conference that took place in 2023 in Accra Proclamation. And in America, we have had the NCROBA movement. I don't know if you all are familiar with NCROBA. They are the leading Pan-African reparation organization in America and responsible for the HR 40 bill that we see moving through the U.S. Congress. So we have to big them up. They have been there when there was no highlight, there was no publicity. They have been working in the trench, behind the scene, unrecognized. So all those people around the world who have been working.
Yeah, man, big up all of them.
And
Big up all the organizations.
Has been very effective. The AU and CARICOM has been collaborating. So
absolutely,
there's a big story to be told.
So it's a global
Global
resistance.
So
global thing.
People, we want to big them up and we just want to rise up. Oh, you said rise up some name. The chairman of the African Emancipation and Reparation March was Nana Bonsu, Kweko Bonsu. I've had you had an interview with him before on this platform on the chat. He's also the chairman of the new organization, the African Reparation Day Council, that is now carrying on the annual reparation march to Parliament Square. So they're still active, they're still continuing, but they have movement. So I just wanted to say that big up to all those people who are continuing the reparation struggle.
Yes,
the street column is still active in the UK. They'll be there on the 1st of August, the 1st of Mosiah, Brixton Ringwood Square. So yes, my people, if you're in England and London and you're listening to this
criticism, brother Dulani.
Huh?
I have one criticism.
Yes,
as a person who have trod on the march before. I've seen a petition being created and asking for signatures, and I think within 10 years there's only 7,000 signatures from the community, which I think is a bit disappointing, because despite the fact that people are turning out, people are not putting their signature, people are not willing to put their signature and their details out there on the front line to stand up for Africa, in the fight.
Well, you know, reparation is a,
Well, where we are now, one step on track. Where we are now in the columns.
yes,
But we don't.
going
We
on
had
to
satisfaction.
Yeah, it have up on track, you know. It have up on track, Okavango. Make you run. It have
Yeah,
up on
man. Yeah,
track.
man.
All
Yeah,
right,
man.
that's the way we are
Where we
forward.
are now. We are satisfaction now.
Satisfaction,
I
yes.
last one this.
yeah,
This is the
Yes.
last one, right?
we just finished.
No,
No,
last one to come.
we just finished satisfaction. We're moving into grantees now.
Okay, so Brother Land, just for the viewers who are just joining, go to the list again and let them know which one we are going to now.
Okay,
Well, Lana,
so
before you go forward to that, there, brother Delane, pretty. Black Book Collective, you left a comment saying we have not covered resistance. Could you just drop in the comments when you're saying resistance, what you're referring to? All right, go ahead, brother Delane.
yes, just for the record, African people have resisted from the first slave ship
Mhm.
arrived in Africa. We have resisted from that moment until till this day. We are still resisting. So all throughout our history of resisted. But anyway, so we're talking about reparative justice. And there's an international framework under the United Nations and a right to remedy for those who have been affected for mass violation, for mass human rights violation. And the five pillars of reparation is restitution, compensation, rehabilitation, satisfaction, and guarantees of non-repetition. These are the five framework as defined by the United Nations Human Rights Commission in how to deal with the right to a remedy for people who have been a gross violation of their human rights. So we are saying that the declaration in the UK, I mean in the UN, that the they said the trafficking of enslaved African and the chattel enslavement of African people is a crime, the gravest crime against humanity. It lays the foundation now for us to move towards reparative justice to deal with this grave crime against our people. So there is no doubt whether a crime was committed against our people. It has been established. That is a strategic move and also a symbolic move. All right, so now we have dealt with restitution, and briefly we're saying to restore the people to the condition they was before. We're talking about restoration of every type: family restoration, community restoration, cultural restoration, language, everything that was lost, land, citizenship, peoplehood, sovereignty. We're talking about restoring the people. We talk about compensation, what everybody love, which is the money. Cut the check. We hear about that, but we know that when we talk about money, we talk about in a bigger context. We talk about rehabilitation, the psychological and the medical and the physical rehabilitation of our people, because many of us are suffering from a lot of ailment that's rooted in our enslavement and our colonization. So we need rapid development on that level, rapid investment in institution to address our cultural development, our psychological development, our educational, our Africational development, and definitely our medical needs must be addressed, especially those long-term ones that rooted in our enslavement. And we also talk about satisfaction, which is where, African people feel that the settlement, there's the part of it now that we have negotiated is satisfactory, that there has been sufficient apologies from those who have offended us. And if it is sincere enough, but there are many of amongst us who are calling for a sincere apology and a taking of responsibility and accountability for what they have done to our people. And it also includes memorialization, where we build monuments and other symbols to honor our ancestors. So, there need to be a space for that, to restore the dignity of our people. All form of, storytelling can be one, books, movies, you know, videos, all kind of measures can be taken to remember, and to preserve the memories of our ancestors.
Yes,
And
sir.
we need to have a global annual day which all African people come together and commemorate our ancestors.
Yes, sir.
And there are efforts already in place,
There is such a day.
coordinated and what you call it now, team up the efforts them. Yeah. So that's where we are. And we're moving on to the last one, which is very, very, very significant, which is guarantee of non-repetition. So I'm
Mhm.
going to move right into that one. That this is where, in order for us to guarantee that what happened to our people never happen again, we need systematic transformation of the system. We have
Natural.
to deal with structural and systematic changes.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism as a system cannot remain intact as it is today, because the game has been rigged against us. And because we know this, we can't continue to allow the inequality to continue to exist. In order to address the imbalance of power and economic access, wealth, we have to deal with some systematic changes to how capitalism is structured, or the banking system is structured. There need to be some serious restructuring. And we're talking about also at the UN level. There need to be some restructuring at the UN level, particularly the Security Council, in order to guarantee that this will never happen to our people again. You know, see, we need democratic reform of the UN. Um, we also have to deal with changing certain laws, certain international laws and rules to guarantee that it would never take place again. From most of these, especially these regional bodies like the EU and NATO, all these bodies need to have some kind of laws in place that will prevent them from ever carrying out these atrocities again on a human being. And and to move on now to guarantee of non-repetition is also an element of technology transfer, where we will need certain technology, because remember, we were excluded from industrialization. So there's a lot of technological advancement have taken place within the last 100 years, 150 years, that African people was excluded from. So we need technological
In
transfer.
terms of benefit, brother Dulani.
Yeah, in terms of
In terms
benefit.
of
Yeah, in terms
benefit.
of benefit. We
Mm-hmm.
was used to help to propel it, but we didn't get any benefit from it. So we need to use some of that technology to build up our defense, to build up our military, to build up our factory capacity, to make tools, to make our own weaponry, and to make our own ammunitions to protect ourselves. You understand? Some of those ballistic missile technology, we need to have those factories in our territory, under our control, under our manufacturing. No sovereign people should depend on any outside nation to build your weaponry, your ammunition, and your defense. That is have to be done by African people. There are many that are calling for Africa ultimate guarantee of non-repetition is to have our own nuclear defense system in place. And I leave it there.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
I think when it comes to the defense still, we have a, you know what I mean, that is whole thing of find the knowledge and invest in our people to find that, because they're not gonna share. They're not gonna share their you know, those things are safely guarded, the ultimate them ballistic thing. They're not gonna share it. So we have
That
our
is a part of
scientists.
that's a part of reparative justice. That's why we have to demand it done by law. So one reparation is enacted. These are things that will have to be enacted by law. That they have to carry it out. That's why you see. That's why those who are talking about reparation are not talking about power, and not talking about legislation, not talking about writing laws. They're only dreaming. Because for these things to come about, it has to be written legislatively and it needs to be implemented. There can be no resistance to it. Once it is put into law, it has to be implemented.
Yeah, but Brother Lonnie, I'm just speaking in the fact, right? The current war going on now, where Iran has developed themselves to can make their own weapons, and it for the system is a big problem because they can defend themselves. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So so I'm just saying they are never gonna give the technology for weapons. We have to get the technology ourselves to make our own weapons to defend ourselves.
May be the case. That may be the case.
So what we like to the law to reflect is leave us alone so we can make our own thing and defend ourselves.
Those clauses can be written in as well. We can accommodate those clauses, but we're gonna push for the ultimate, and whatever we come up with at the end is what we're gonna come up with at the end. But
yes.
I'm just saying that these are some of the demands on the table. You understand? And we have to now deal with them and what they're refusing to do and what we're gonna do in response to that.
Right.
So our independent development have to continue. Whether we get reparation or not, we still have to continue our development as a sovereign people. We have to build
we're having a lively discussion about reparation. Sometimes I see up to 30 odd people on the live, and we still don't have 20 likes. Come on, people. Like up the live, you know what I mean? Very interesting topic, you know what I mean? A very needed topic. So like up the live and keep sharing it to like-minded people. Go on, Brother Dan.
Yeah, so we have a mandate as an African people to develop ourselves. Regardless of what happened, we have to develop. That's why we have to have internal repair. We still have to do our own work behind the scene to develop ourselves, regardless of what the outsiders or the colonizers or the imperialists them do. We still have to take the responsibility for building our school system.
Yes, sir.
We have to build our own factories. We have to build our own laboratories. We have to do the things that is necessary. We have to build our infrastructure, our roads, our hospitals, our ports. We still have to do those things.
Yes, sir.
But despite everything, but we still will never give up the fight for reparative justice. Because that is for some of us, is a divine responsibility. It is something that is that we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to our ancestors, and we owe it to future generation that we don't give up this divine right. To justice, because it's a justice case. But in spite of that, we still have the responsibility to feed our people today.
Right.
We still have to build hospital today for our children and for our people.
We have a vibrant discussion going on in the comment section.
And I would add to this, my brother, that Okavango, you brought up a very good point, and I'm going to just extend that point by saying that I am critical of many of these neo-colonial governments. You are now in control of the school system, and you refuse to Africanize the school system. You refuse to bring about the reform in the school system to Africate our children about their history and about who they are, and take steps to bring about the kind of name changing, the normalization of African culture amongst our people. That is our responsibility. That would never be no outsider will come and do that. But we have to acknowledge the colonial force of religion is very active, because they still look down on African culture. We still have a psychological issue. And that's why we need our experts, our historians, our cultural experts to take the lead on designing our educational system. We cannot continue this neo-colonial system that's been imposed on our people.
Yes, sir.
So
this is all part of reparations, right? This is what we're speaking about. Reparations and what reparative justice should look like. So the outcome eventually is that Africans are in control of their resources. Africans are in control of their lives. Africans are seen as sovereign. They could develop their weaponry. They could do as they please. And this is the process. How do we restore ourselves to the way we were? And this is reparatory justice. And this is what reparations deals with primarily. Restoring us, restoring our dignity, our place in this world, our homeland. This is what it's dealing with. So, Brother Lulani, yeah, man, give thanks for that narrative.
And we can briefly look at the CARICOM 10-point plan. We have the list here. We can run
Yes.
through.
They run through it, Brother Lulani.
Because every region, nation, every group kind of have their own version of what is important to them for reparative justice. In CARICOM, them call for number 1, a formal apology. Number 2, repatriation. Support the resettlement to Africa for those desiring to return. That's number 2. And matter of fact, this 10-point plan was just recently revised by CARICOM, because the first version was a little wishy-washy. But now the eyes are opening more, possibilities are you can see closer.
I want to say, Brother Dulani, that it's also very close to the 5 pillar,
Yes, it's getting closer
power.
to that.
It's
Yes.
very close to the UN resolution. Very close.
I did notice that. So, and then they have Indigenous Peoples Development Program. This is what the CARICOM plan, number 3 on their plan, declares support to rebuild decimated communities. That means that they're also calling for any of the native indigenous aboriginals or the Indian population in Jamaica or anywhere they need to be supported. Because there are some still across Central America and Latin America, the way people just start reach them, believe it or not. And there are also number 4, cultural institutions, returning of cultural heritage and funding for cultural centers. This CARICOM number 4 upon their plan. Number 5, public health crisis, assist in tackling diseases stemming from enslavement. That is number 5 on the CARICOM 10-point plan. Number 6, education programs addressing illiteracy and providing educational infrastructure. This is where they need to bring in Africanization, African Afrocentric
and a complete revamping of the curriculum.
Yes, this colonial system that's there need to be revamped. We have come a long way. We have the expert. We have the African experts who master African history and culture and the sciences in terms of science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics. We can structure a system that can develop both the mind and the physical environment of our people.
But Brother Lulani, I want to say that the illiteracy education, it is very well worded the way they put it. They said targeted education programs to overcome the low education levels inherited from colonial systems. I like the fact that they use the word low educational systems.
Matter of fact, in Jamaica, 95% of the people was illiterate when we got independence.
Yeah. Low education.
So the 5% was the colonially educated.
And that was by design.
By design, for sure.
So it's a uphill battle, no matter how we look on it. See it. And number 7, they say cultural knowledge exchange.
African knowledge program.
Yes. So this we're boosting ties between the Afrobean people and the African roots. Let's say they say the Caribbean, but we say Afrobean.
Afrobean, man.
Let me say this, people. The reason why I say Afrobean is because the word Carib was a European imposed word on those people. They tried to call those people cannibal. The word Carib comes from a word in Spanish meaning cannibal. And we reject that kind of designation and labeling. So we rename it the Afrobean. All right. So that's why we use the word Afrobean. Also, psychological rehabilitation I think we spoke about that in also in the pillar.
You are 8 now, number 8 now.
Yeah, psychological rehabilitation.
Psychological rehabilitation. That's number 8.
That's 8?
Yeah, that's
number 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Healing from the intergenerational trauma. And I think the FBA can use some of this healing. The so-called FBA. I want to make sure I put that there. So-called. You don't see it. The cult there.
Just explain for the sake of the viewers. For the sake of the viewers, Badulani, just explain what that acronym means.
The FBA, Foundational Black American, so-called Foundational Black American, but it should be Foundational Black African Americans. They want to take out the African. They claim they don't have no roots in Africa, and only a tiny percentage of them roots in Africa. And when you do a DNA test, and all of them, 70+% of their DNA is African. And they're denouncing the African DNA. They claim DNA is not real. They don't want to deal with biology. They want to deal with psychology to psych out the people, them, deceive the people, them, and
this is why education is important.
Yes.
To tell a while ago. So and that's why we're here to educate them. They don't want to claim Africa, but we claim them anyway. Let's move on.
In the UK, in the African Emancipation Day Reparation March, our slogan was education is preparation for reparations. That is it.
For reparations.
That was our slogan every year. You know, see it. So
collectively,
they need to be educated, my brother. And unfortunately, they've been led by a pimp, a slickster, a con artist that is using them and weaponizing miseducation to deceive his people. So unfortunate, you know, unfortunate indeed. So psychological rehabilitation is to repair the mind, as we know. And we have the experts, them who know what to do and how to do it. And then number 9 is technology transfer. I think Oko Vango did speak about that and said, boy, you know, maybe we're not going to get that, but we put it on the list anyway. We're talking about enhanced access to technology for development. Now, I must tell you that with AI technology, access to this technology may be becoming even more easier than before, because all the formulas them are available to the AI now. For building almost anything, all the designs are available to build anything. And with blockchain technology, we can also use blockchain technology to secure anything we build on our own blockchain. So technology transfer may become more easier than we think. Because I know that even some of the AI now is open source. You can actually take it and train it to go get more information for you. Anyway.
All of it is open source.
Well, I think OpenAI decided to take their one off open source.
Oh, really?
Yes. OpenAI decided to go private for them.
Oh.
Proprietary. But no one said DeepSeek is open source and some of the other. Yes.
So if we can sit here in the chat,
number 10.
No, number 10.
Number 10 is debt cancellation and monetary compensation. So financial support for economic development and debt relief. That was a contentious one for many of us. Many of us was critical of this because some people say, you want to take reparation and go pay off debt to them. We are in debt.
No, not to pay it off. Debt cancellation, brother.
Cancellation, I can't pay off.
Cancellation.
I can't pay off. A cancellation, I can't pay off. That'll be madness.
Okay, well, let me tell you something. This is modified. It used to be debt relief.
Okay, got you.
So they have
modified it.
They have kind of like modernize it and get it right. And that was one of the criticism that we have.
And what I like is that they put this for the last one too.
Yes, exactly. So debt cancellation is not bad. We need to cancel all those debt. Because Fidel Castro told the third world people them long time ago, you will never be able to pay off the debt. Don't even try. Don't even attempt to pay it off. Because it's highway robbery. It's a rigged monopoly game that we have been forced to pay it into. So that's what we talk about.
Them do that with the debt. They loan them and them do that with work.
Exactly.
And again, again, that was the what the CARICOM 10-point plan for
Yeah.
The CARICOM
yeah.
10-point plan. Yes.
reparations.
So this is what they're calling for in the Afrobean from the CARICOM
Seriously.
community. And
The Black Book.
the CARICOM community has linked up with the AU, which is the
AU,
African Union.
which is good.
And that's us pushing this.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
now
man.
they have the support of many of the Black organizations in America, in Europe, and across Central and South America. The global cohesiveness of the reparation movement is coming together. And that's very important. That this movement,
the Black Book Collective, the Black Book Collective 880 says no one has spoken about I need to talk about language. We know that language is gonna be a very major aspect of this process. But what we're doing at the moment is basically we work with the language that we have at the moment until we can get where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, but that I think that come on that cultural exchange and education,
yes.
though.
Yes, I mean, also under restitution, we talk about restoring language and land and
right.
And we segue here because of yesterday, right? We started today, and it's a continuation, but it's a continuation to make the people realize that, hey, it's so significant that slavery is being recognized as the worst atrocity to humanity. But there's also something going on here, right? There's the African Union lead in this whole thing, calling it the decade of reparations. Yes. So because now we are in the decade of reparations, it is important that we understand what it means. So Brother Dulani gave us
what it should mean.
Or what it should mean or what it means, right? Even. But this is the decade of reparations pushed by the African Union. And we in full support of it. So today, the audience must understand what it actually means.
From 2026 to 2036 is the decade of action and reparation. So now we have to pressure our MPs, our governments, to demand reparation, to write reparative justice law.
Yes.
The governments, we need all our local government to also declare the enslavement of African people to be a crime against humanity. They need to put that on the books.
We
need to do similar to what Algeria has done. We need to declare those things crime against humanity, colonialism as crime against African people. So those things need to be on the books. So during the decade, we need to push.
And those are important steps towards reparative justice.
Yes, we need to push our politicians to put these things, because these are strategic, You put them on the books, and even if you don't accomplish down the line, the future generation will have something to work with. We are putting on the books today that these things are crime against our people, and they must be held accountable.
Definitely.
So,
and they are the people who, they say that we're always talking about reparation, but we will continue to talk about reparation until we get reparation, because we have seen where people who face lesser crimes got reparations, other groups of people. We have seen the Jews got reparations. We have seen the Japanese got reparations. And they got big reparation that can sustain, something can sustain them.
And now we have this global coalition going on amongst African groups. It makes it more important.
You see, reparation and a reparation, say the enslavers got reparation.
Yes.
Got reparation. There are a lot of people who got reparation.
Not just the victim, but they actually victimizer.
Yes, got reparation.
In America and in the Afrobean, the British Empire paid the enslavers reparation. So we have a lot of precedent.
And that's the reason. That's the reason why Delani, I can't understand an African would come and say that why we want handout when they got handout. Got handout. If you want to call it handout, because it's not an handout anyway.
Yes.
But they got a handout. So why would you want the same
handout to them? It was a handout to them. It was a handout to them. It's not a
I don't know.
handout to I and I.
I think they were just monetizing more on their assets. I don't know.
No,
It
that's
was
what I'm
a
saying. It was a
handout.
handout to
They
them
figure out a
because
way
they
more
didn't
to
deserve it.
monetize
They
on
didn't
people's
deserve it.
lives.
So when you get something that you don't deserve, that's a
But
handout.
they never they didn't deserve any of what they had.
That's why we say it's a handout to them. To them,
But
when they got
But
reparations, it was a handout. To I and I, it's not a
Regine, it wasn't a
handout.
handout. It's a criminal.
yeah,
It was
I
There
don't
you
know.
go.
That's a
criminal.
There you
handout.
You know
go.
what I mean?
There you go.
yeah,
And
it was
Yeah,
injustice, an
that's a
injustice,
handout.
Regine.
it was
That
an
was it was, an
injustice against
injustice.
our people.
How
Hmm.
could
Imagine,
someone face such atrocity and you give
Yeah,
the criminal
Hey.
yeah.
Grave
reparations?
injustice.
no,
Grave
I'm telling you,
injustice.
and
And that's why we are pushing for reparations,
Africa,
and that's why we are happy that the enslavement of Africans is recognized
Recognize.
as
A
what you know what I
grave
mean, as the
the
sin.
gravest
gravest
crime against humanity.
The
crime
struggle
against humanity.
continues,
So we
brother. The
can know
struggle
we can move
continues.
towards our reparations.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Struggle continues.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And
Give
we don't
thanks
For
care
to
what
sure.
anyone
everyone
want to say.
Africa, Africa is done. Africa is done whispering. Our ancestors paid in blood, sweat, brilliance, and stolen futures. And the bill is now on the table. Reparations are not a favor, they are a debt the world owes, and a debt Africa is finally ready and must collect.
Yeah, man. Give thanks.
Man.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah,
Give
I
Sometimes I
thanks.
rise
wonder,
up still,
Virgin.
you know.
Sometimes I'm wondering if people don't like sit down and like think about what happened in slavery. How could
Yeah.
someone rape your mother and your sister? You know what I mean? How could someone
But
murder your father, enslave them, have them working for 400? This happened for 400 years, you know. They
but
were doing these things for
but
400
Okavango,
years. You know what I mean?
we understand it clearly, you know, because with slavery, remember, you know, all some came to, you know, they came indoctrination, and with religion being the primary force under which people were indoctrinized, there's a psychological mechanism that holds true to this very hour as we speak, right? So even with all of that, when people listen to these conversations, they refer back to their religious ideology and the God that they serve, you know. And
Mhm.
this God gave them a master, you know. And this they will justify that they had to go through these things
Yeah. God, them
because
disobey God.
they would be in disobedience. So this is part of the rehabilitation. How do we move from that 400 years
of
of
indoctrination.
slavery? And we're not talking only shackles and chains. We are
Mhm.
talking about the mind, the
Yeah.
psychology of it all. And when you introduce religion, it is something that is going to be a fight because you know who you're fighting against? Their God.
God. Yes, I.
And when you fighting against their God,
It's a
now the
no-no.
battle now begins, brother.
It's a
So that
no-no.
that psychology for the African
Oh,
is the most
Jaja.
damaging thing.
Wicked.
Slave
That's a deep one.
obey thy masters.
Mm-hmm.
That's a deep one. And I want
Yeah,
to say
man.
something on the discussion about compensation. And before we end this broadcast, I know we're almost ready to end. You
Yes, sir.
see, the compensation that Britain gave to the enslavers, they had to take a loan out on that compensation. And they finished paying off that loan in 2015.
15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
During the same time, they were telling us that was in the past, let's forget about it. They were
Mm-hmm.
still
Mhm.
paying
Mm.
Paying the loan
Paying
to
over.
them.
the loan,
So
the
hold
debt,
on. Let's not look at it as
using,
a loan, brother Dulani.
yeah,
Let us not look at it as a loan,
mhm,
Let us look at it
Compensation.
as say they are still getting
paying,
benefits, in
Yeah.
yes,
2015, The
Yeah.
fees,
same people that's telling us to forget about it, that's way in the past,
yes,
move on.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Yeah.
still getting
Uh,
benefits from it in that
benefits.
2015.
Still getting
But
benefits of our labor because we have to work and pay the taxes for them to get that because it's
Yes,
tax
I.
money
So
paying
Yes,
them.
I.
So the money
Yes,
that we
I.
are working
Yes, I.
and a
Yes, I.
struggle to
Yes,
survive
I. Yes,
out here, we
I.
are struggle to survive and
Yes,
them get
I.
the money
the
off of the
irony and the disrespect of it all, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And they bragged about it, put it on Twitter, and when the world saw that, we were shocked because every time we go to Parliament, them tell us it's in the past, it's done
Right.
and dusted. You know,
Right.
we'll speak it about this,
Right.
move on, and you ain't round the back to sort of pay
Collected.
one bag of money for all these years. And them
Wicked.
say it was about
Brother
40,
Durrani is called the sleight of hands.
it was 40% of the British budget at the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Significant amount of money they give the people them.
Sleight of
Windfall,
hands.
whole heap of money them get. You know, see,
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man. So
so
we do give thanks to the ones that will join
Yeah,
us
man.
today. We do give thanks for
Yeah.
the energy. We do give thanks for that spirit of resilience, that spirit of resistance that carry through the Africans today, who maintain the fight. Big up the ones them who Brother Delane highlight who have been spearheading this move, this very significant move. Big up Brother Delane for the sacrifice where you really put in at this as well. You know what I say? And give thanks for the fact that you can come bring the information to the ones them to make them know what's really going on, because we find that there's a lot of miscommunication, misunderstandings, misrepresentations in this area of reparations. So what we want to say to wrap it is that, listen, first of all, the reparation have to start mentally, psychologically. Then it have to be physical. So we have to deal with those rehabilitation process first and foremost. You understand? We have to deal with the things them in the correct order. Because too many times we make progressive steps, and because we don't deal with it in an ordered manner, we end up right back where we were coming from. And this time around, we're not gonna have that happening, because we are gonna do it the right and proper way.
Yeah, man. Give thanks for life.
yes,
The
sir.
time is right, man. Now is the moment.
yes, I. May I read some of the comment them in the thing, you know?
And we don't stop talk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
See
man.
you